What's happening, podcast guys and gals and Shrouded Realities friends and family? We are Shrouded Realities. I'm Joey, Connor, Steven, our expert mixologist and
that's right.
all things podcast guy.
What am I?
You're the talent.
You're the talent.
Yeah.
You're the
That's
face.
a lot of weight.
We just keep the room temperature like you like it. Make
Yep.
sure you have plenty of drinks.
A cool 71.5.
Cool
Or I'm leaving.
71.5.
Only green M&Ms for
Only
you.
green M&Ms.
That's right.
We make you happy. And Ruby, the podcast dog, who gets to sleep through the whole thing.
Yep.
It's a nice fluffy bed she's got.
Yeah.
That is so
I had to hook
nice.
her up today. She looked a little uncomfortable on the floor, so
That's right.
I'll bring her in, make her comfy. But yeah, today we're going to start out with a hard disclaimer. You know, we got our usual disclaimer.
We're idiots.
We're three dummies.
Yeah, we're three big idiots.
that
If
don't
you listen
know
to
what-
us and it changes your life, you may need to reflect on that.
That's right.
You might need to have your brain washed.
Ah, daggum. Foreshadowing.
Bring it out.
Oh,
Yep. So yeah, that's it. We gotta put out that a lot of what we're about to say is opinion.
Yep.
Very much opinion. We've got some studying done that we've brought some facts. We got some documents we can
facts.
use.
We may trail off a little bit, but just stay with us.
Yep.
It's a lot of information.
A lot of information, but there is some there is some opinion, some conjecture, some conspiracy theory.
We'll try to, in the middle of us having that conversation, we'll say, hey, look, this is our opinion.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah,
and this is fact.
yeah,
So,
because there's some unconfirmed conspiracy theories that's going to get talked about today, but there's some real stuff that
there's some real stuff that's
really did happen.
was actually released from the government, actually. Then they said, oh, yeah, we did that.
Yep, I've got some opinions on that too. What we do know. That
Here's
is-
my thought: is the government and the CIA the same thing?
Yes.
It feels like they run their own courses. You know what I mean?
I think CIA is just another three-letter organization that.
But
can
do they
do what
have any?
want.
Like, is the government like got a choker on them? Are they holding them down? Because it seems like the
No.
CIA just does whatever they want.
I don't think any of the three
actually-
letters do.
I think the CIA is separate. I know that their budget for some of the stuff we're going to have conversation about, some of their budget was endless.
Really?
Yeah.
They
It
do
was just
whatever.
whatever.
Their fingers and everything, and everybody's
Interesting.
pie.
But well, let's get into what we're talking about. The subject today is going to be brainwashing, mind control, experimentation,
MK Ultra.
MK Ultra, and all the offshoots.
What a sick name.
That's
Imagine being in the early or like late 40s and someone says that. Like, if they were hyped.
sounds like a
Oh,
cool
yeah.
shampoo.
It sounds like
MK
a.
Ultra
Yeah,
as a shampoo.
It sounds like a sports car.
Ultra dandruff. We'll fight all of the dandruff.
MK Ultra solves your dandruff problems and leaves your hair silky smooth
And your brain wiped.
and your brain
And
wiped
your
right
brain
out.
wiped. Be sure to massage it into every follicle.
Before we go too far off the rails, we may be breaking some history, some Shrouded Realities history today. We're recording live on video, so we may get some video up.
Yeah.
Pretty
Big
soon.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited.
We're going to try to.
Don't look at the camera. I think that's a rule.
I'm looking right at
Is
it.
that a rule where you can't look at the
Yeah,
camera?
don't look at the camera. Don't
Wow.
look at it. Don't
Yeah.
look at it.
We're
Don't
new
look
at
at
this.
it.
My eyes are drifting.
But anyway, back to the subject, mind control. Let's I think we hit different areas of mind
Mhm.
control. You know, you got brainwashing, you've got LSD experimentation, you got hypnosis, you got lobotomies, you got shock treatment.
You got assassinations involved in all of that, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I tried to watch a movie or miniseries about that, and
That guy, no, he
Steve.
fell out a window, man. That
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
yeah.
he fell or jumped was what was on the.
Yeah. it
Well, I
was
mean,
one of
you
the two.
fall if you jump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
can't do both. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can do both.
I mean,
You
you
jump and
maybe-
then you fall.
Maybe he was doing jumping jacks
Then he
and
fell.
fell out of a window.
Because
was
that's a
doing-
common thing that happens, right?
I mean, and windows were not near as safe as they
He
are
was just
today.
doing
so
the
I mean,
doing the
you-
Dougie too hard, and he just.
That's right.
just yeet right
Just
out the
out there
window.
flossing, and that
Yeet.
was it.
So here, let me ask you guys this: do you think mind control is real? Do you think it's possible to alter
100%.
somebody's mental state and make them
100%.
do what you want? Shut them down, their personality.
I think with certain things, yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, I say 100%.
You think like sleeper cells are a thing? Like they hear like the word blue, and it's like, oh, I just
don't know
killed
about
20
that.
people.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
Like they're sitting on a couch watching like a TV show, living life, and all of a sudden like
Yeah.
comes on this TV screen.
They
And it's like,
hear-
oh, I'm a different person now.
They hear a voice called, like, you hear
They get
word
a phone
like
call. It's like
schizophrenia.
orange tangerine, and
Yeah.
it's like robot.
Yeah, turn into a mindless robot.
It's like John Wick, where they bust out the concrete and get all the
Well,
weapons out.
there is a document
Yeah.
from 1953 where they said that they could call people over the telephone and it would split their personality.
Was that Project Bluebird?
I believe so, yeah.
Project Blueberry?
Yep.
Project
Yeah,
Blueberry?
Blueberry.
All right,
It was
Willy
Project
Wonka.
Blueberry.
Yeah. They have some interesting names for these projects.
Right.
What about Project Midnight Climax?
Operation Midnight Climax.
Operation
Yeah,
Midnight.
That
was a-
operation
Did you hear that one?
happens at my house all the time.
Stop it.
Does it?
Stop it. You're a married man. You can't say that.
What? That's the well, duh, obviously.
Anyway, yeah, so that was an offshoot of MK Ultra. From what I understand, MK Ultra, y'all correct me if y'all came across anything different. MK Ultra was just the overall name
Yeah.
for the mind control experimentation that
And then-
started in the 60s or 50s.
It was in the 50s.
50s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in 53 is where most of the documents I
yeah,
found were.
During the Cold War.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Trying to get everybody's bearing straight and trying to beat everybody.
yeah, so
It
what
was, from what I saw, it was coming out of the Korean War. A lot of the POWs were coming back, and they weren't the same as they were when they left.
yeah, they were brainwashed.
And they thought, well, these guys are brainwashed. We need to get some kind of defense basically against that. So we need to figure out what they're doing so we can defend against it.
Yeah, it was a defensive mechanism. So
Well,
they said.
it was a defensive
Started
in
out that way.
quotations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Started
we're
as a
trying- We're gonna do this for the good of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
opinion. This is opinion.
Opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even the story of how it started is a little
It's a little weird
sus.
because there
Yeah.
was things out of World War II as well, where I think that was in Project Bluebird and Artichoke and some of that. That was another one, Project Artichoke. I don't know if y'all saw
I
that
mean,
one.
Okay.
this could be another podcast, but I mean, all the experiments the Nazis were doing, playing
A
God.
lot of the Nazis that came over here, I think, participated in a
Mhm.
lot of our stuff.
In the
I mean, they
experimentation.
were like really tapping into that,
Yeah.
doing all kinds of crazy experiments,
Yeah. So MK Ultra was the overall project name that the CIA used to start the mind experimentation using different drugs, different techniques, hypnosis,
Torture.
shock therapy, torture, and the shady part of MK Ultra was that it was completely illegal.
Well, it was illegal, and they were doing it on non-consenting people.
Yes, just
It wasn't
randos
like
on the street.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were just going and
With a
dropping
budget of-
LSD in people's drinks.
A budget
And-
of infinity.
Mhm.
Yeah. I saw $10 million. I did the math of what, well,
What's that in today's dollars?
Yeah. I said I did the math. I did not do the math. The internet did the math.
Because we're not smart enough to do
Because
that.
I'm not sitting there. Yeah. I'm not like writing equations on my
Yeah.
mirror or anything. But it was $117 million, and that was in 1953. So
117 mil.
in today dollars.
Okay.
So it was 10
That's still
million
a lot.
In 1953.
in
That's insane.
1953.
That's a lot
like
of
a ton.
acid. That's a lot of acid.
Have you heard the amount that they bought?
Uh-uh.
They bought the entire world's worth of LSD. It was only produced in Switzerland at that point, and they went to Switzerland and said, all of it. That's how much we want. And they bought the entire world's supply of LSD.
Yeah. One of the documentaries I watched, it was a dramatized documentary, so it was reenacting it, but it was from the stories of the real people, and it's from Wormwood, the Netflix miniseries, but they gave him when he agreed to do the experimentation and be a scientist for the CIA, they handed him the briefcase,
Yeah.
and he opened it up, and it's just full of illicit drugs, just crammed full. And they said, "Is this enough?" He said, "Dude, I can get the whole city high on this." Like it was a crazy amount
Yeah.
of drugs, LSD, everything, THC.
I don't think it takes a whole lot of LSD to get you going either.
I
So,
think a drop will do you.
yeah. So they were putting I think I heard 100. Let me scratch that. I don't know exactly what it was. Grams, milligrams, whatever it was.
I'm not a drug
But
addict.
into I don't know how any of that works. Into like a glass of water, and these people were in outer space after it. They thought that they had found out what schizophrenic people felt like just from that one little drop of whatever they put into a glass of water.
Good night.
Yeah. I mean, how did people acquire LSD in the 60s? Was it purposely put out into the market? Or was
Seems
it just
like
kind of...
It started out as a just as anything in this world does. Started out as a good thing. They discovered it. It was a mold that grew on grain and wheat,
Mm.
and they realized that it had psychedelic effects. And the first scientist that found it used it on himself, and he said he tripped balls and could taste the colors of the wall. Like,
Wow.
it was bonkers. So it scared him, but he realized that what it could do.
Yeah.
And they started experimenting with it from that way.
Well, they thought they were going to find a cure for schizophrenia.
Yeah, they was using
with this
yeah,
because they thought
rewire.
They
they
probably
thought
just
that,
made it worse. I mean, just
well, from what I saw, schizophrenic people, it had almost no effect.
really,
Yeah,
it didn't do anything to them unless you just really gave it to them. I mean, if you gave it the beans, then yeah, they were. But just a dab didn't do anything to them.
yeah.
Oh, I have to look into that and see why. That's interesting.
Yeah, they
The
did.
brain's a mystery.
I did see or I listened to a podcast of a guy that was talking about LSD as a whole, and they said that because of the bad that was done during MK Ultra and all the mind control experiments that they were doing, it gave LSD a bad name, and there are really good uses for LSD.
Yeah.
Even now, they said like big CEOs in Silicon Valley are using microdoses to kind of.
I've heard that with that and mushrooms. People will microdose those things, and it doesn't really give you enough to give you the tripping feeling, but
yeah, it kind of helps them push past a mental block if they've got one creatively or
I've kind of heard both sides of that. It's like one side, if you're microdosing, you start to kind of lose sense of reality almost. It's like
if
you become dependent on it,
Yeah.
And then the other side is like, yeah, it's almost like how you can use it for therapy. There's all kinds of drugs they use for therapy, like especially like ketamine.
Okay.
It's a horse tranquilizer, but it's used for therapy. It just puts you in a different state of mind to maybe get past something.
Yeah.
But it's a flip flop. It's like some people react to it differently,
Yeah, some people have bad, nasty trips and think that the monsters are crawling out of the walls.
Yep, and they start tearing their skin off their face.
Yeah. Other guys just meet Mickey Mouse and have the best time of their life.
Yep.
I got a little story, but one of my mentors early in my career, he grew up in the '60s, and he said he took a little acid at a party one time, and he went to lean back in his chair, just to prop up against the wall, and he said, he was already feeling pretty good before that, and he leaned into the wall and then disappeared into the wall into cartoon land.
To cartoon
and
land?
he was hanging out with Mickey Mouse and Bugs
Oh
Bunny.
my gosh.
dude, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be fun for like 5 seconds, and then I would just get terrified.
Yeah,
like, take me back.
Do you think you'd be like a terrified tripper, or do you think you'd be
I'm one of those that would definitely have a bad trip every time.
I was freaking out on freaking dental gas. Okay. I was getting panicked. And I wasn't even in an altered state of mind. I just was like high.
getting zoinked in the dentist office?
I don't want to see things that aren't actually there. I'm out on that. I don't know anything about it, but everything I've heard,
in LSD land.
Yeah, that can stay over there. If there's something that's not actually there, but I can see it, nope.
Yeah.
So the thing that interests me about it, that LSD and mushrooms, is people that use it for like religious,
they
mind altering type stuff.
Their chakra.
They can see God.
Their third eye.
Yeah, and like
they know all the meaning of the universe when they're done.
They say they come away with a bigger understanding of the world.
Yeah,
you meet that.
Makes me interested. I don't think it's true or not, but it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, the fact that you can take a substance and it like you completely like lose sense of reality. You go to this different world. It's crazy how that works. Like how there's something out there you could just eat and then you're like, boof, you're gone.
Yeah,
you're gone for 20 minutes.
I saw. I think it was on Salvia. The guy that was talking about it. It was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He said that he went and lived underwater for 6 months of his life.
Cool. In his head.
Okay. He took just massive hits of this stuff. He lived underwater for 6 months, had a family, had kids, and then poof, he was out of it. And he said when he came back out, he wasn't right because he had made connections in this other place.
He missed his underwater friends.
It was probably only for like 30 minutes that he was out. Yeah. But in that 30 minutes, he felt like it was 6 months and somewhere else.
I bet we can turn that into another podcast where like, is that other place real?
Yeah.
Did you go to a real dimension?
It's actually hard to not go down that road right now.
Yeah. We can save that for another one.
Shoot, yeah, let's get into the reality part of all this.
Yeah,
so we explain what MK Ultra is. There's a bunch of different offshoots, a bunch of different projects. One of the conspiracy theories, we'll go and jump into it, that I seen was one of the original doctors that was performing the experiments. He did it for a few years. It was probably close to a decade. I can't remember exactly how long, but he was the one. We joked about this early, but he was the one that his boss spiked his drink at a party and made him trip.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the tester, but his boss made him test without him knowing it. Of course, they've been doing this to regular people his whole career. He started getting conscious about it and was fixing to turn whistleblower.
Mm-hmm.
And all this part is documented. He was fixing to turn whistleblower. And then here's where the conspiracy part comes in. He fell or jumped out of a 13th story window in New York and died. Obviously.
That was Frank Olson.
Frank Olson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was.
In his family, there was an initial, what's it called, where they test after you die.
Autopsy?
Yep, that's the word.
Yep.
There was an initial autopsy, and it was ruled a certain thing.
Yep.
Well,
Suicide.
Yeah, it was ruled a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed for another autopsy years later.
His son did.
Had
him exhumed.
Because he was like,
And-
nah.
Yeah.
and
they
it was
found more
determined that he had cuts and other things on his body at that point that may have actually been the thing that killed him.
things. Yeah.
And the president of the United States actually,
Ford, wasn't it?
yeah, Ford gave an apology
To the family.
to the family and
First
gave him
time and only
$750,000.
time in history.
You know it's bad when they do that.
$750,000.
Yeah. Yeah. They paid him off.
Right. And
Said-
the guys who did it were like just in the shadows.
Yeah.
Just gone.
Yeah. And they said that the apology was super vague, obviously. He
Yeah.
couldn't say exactly what it was for.
Hey, we're sorry. Yeah,
Sorry,
that was
this
a bad
situation
deal.
had
Yeah, I hate that.
My government
But-
agency just, had to,
Yeah.
clean stuff up.
So obviously the conspiracy in this was that the government put a hit on him because he was getting ready to whistleblow and tell all
That's-
the dirty stories that they were doing.
We can neither confirm nor deny that
Yeah.
was the situation,
Yeah.
but it is a little bit weird
Yeah.
that this guy just fell out of a window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you remember how it did get officially broke free? Like how we do have this information?
I want to say it was during Bill Clinton's time.
It was 72. New York Times put out an article.
New York Times put out an
Yeah.
article, but how we actually have the documents
Yeah,
today
yeah.
It got released from Bill Clinton when he
Gotcha.
was releasing a bunch of
Freedom of Information.
Freedom of Information Act stuff.
Yeah.
That confirmed the
conspiracy.
The conspiracy. They
Yeah.
could have said no.
Yeah.
And during the New York Times, no, we wouldn't do that. But
So my own conspiracy with this
Mhm.
is if that's what we do know, and if that is what the government was willing to say they know,
Mm-hmm.
what don't we know?
exactly.
What was left top secret? Because when it did come bust loose in 1972 in the New York Times article,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of like hundreds of thousands of documents destroyed. So,
I bet a lot of that was like all the tests they did on people,
oh yeah,
like results from it,
yeah,
like how much of it actually worked.
yeah,
They don't. It's like during that time, and the USSR was our biggest enemy, and we had spies on both ends of it, and trying to keep
The
information. Yeah, trying to keep information on the DL. It was
Yeah.
kind of hard.
The Ruskies in the
The
Cold
Ruskies.
War, we're going to come and take your information by force using LSD.
Yes,
That's my Russian accent. I
So-
like vodka and potatoes.
does not sound anywhere
Does that
close
sound
to
Russian?
it. No,
No, that was not very Russian.
Even
So-
vodka and potatoes?
vodka.
Vodka.
When we
Vodka.
bought that mass amount of LSD, we actually told the guys we bought it from, we said, hey, if anybody else shows up trying to buy a bunch of LSD, let us know. Because
Wow.
they were worried that the Russians were doing the same thing on their side.
Wow.
They said, hey, don't sell it to them.
Yeah.
If you need a seller or need to sell some stuff, let us
Yeah.
know. We'll buy it.
The Ruskies had something worse than LSD. They had communism.
Well, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That was
they
their
just
mind
take,
control.
They
That
just
was
take the information.
they just take it and then burn your house down.
What Geneva Convention?
we don't follow that.
Yeah,
here.
zoink. We're just gonna snatch out whatever information we want.
That's
no matter
right.
How? But,
Gulag.
yeah, at least I guess that's how we could say we're the good guys. We were at least trying to do it with.
We were just
drugs.
doing it by dropping it in their drinks. Dude, could you imagine how terrifying that would be?
Dude, an
You're just
accidental
sitting there,
tripping balls?
you're having your beer, you're fine.
Yep.
20 minutes later, you're seeing outer space in your living room. I mean, I would crap my
You look
pants.
at your lady. She's got 4 eyeballs.
You got 4 eyeballs and 6 tentacles growing out of her.
Yeah.
Dude, I'd weep.
Yeah, no, they did say that there were people that died from these experimental stuff, didn't they? Especially
like offing themselves or like from the actual experiment.
both was just
Okay.
freaking out and
Gotcha.
offing themselves, and then
Mhm.
like having a bad trip and
Offing themselves.
Yeah, well, shorten your
If-
shorten your brain and
Here,
Yeah.
I'm asking you guys this: if you were inducted into this program, what would you choose? The LSD, the shock treatment? What would you choose?
If we had a choice?
If you had a choice.
Fun. Good question.
If I had a choice and I was knowingly they were giving me LSD and I knew that's what was going on, I'm picking that.
Okay.
I don't want to be...
Even with a chance of a bad trip?
Yeah, because that will eventually, end. I guess. Maybe. Well, there was a doctor. It was Cameron. Dr. Cameron. He kept some of his guys that he had on LSD for 75 days straight.
Cool.
Like every day they had it drop down
Every
on
day, 75 days, just to see what would happen.
But that felt like eternity.
Dude, yeah, I couldn't imagine 75 days. You just wake up, all right, here it is. We're doing it again. And you didn't know when it was coming because he might put it in your breakfast and you might end up with your supper. You don't know.
You lose track of time. Like you don't even know.
Yeah.
Like it's just gone.
I think I would pick between shock treatment and hypnosis.
Hypnosis. That'd be
hypnosis may be fun.
Maybe, unless they're like, I don't know.
The problem is...
it depends on how you get hypnotized. I got a story about Project Monarch that was... that one's a conspiracy theory one, but it was...
Based on that?
No, it wasn't. Like, Project Monarch was it's a conspiracy theory that it was real.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
it was a hypnosis project, and they was doing some dirty deeds.
Like, oh, okay.
So the problem I saw is they would knock these people out for an extended period of time and electrocute them while they were asleep.
Yeah.
And they could feel it.
Yeah.
They could still feel everything. They would electrocute them, then wake them back up, and these people wouldn't remember who they were, their past lives, anything like that. And they would play messages, I want to say, in their ears for like hours at a time.
Yeah, one of the ones I seen, they put a recorder under a person's pillow, zoinked them out, put them in a coma. Excuse me. And then they played Your Mother Hates You on loop under their pillow for hours, like however long they were out.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine waking up and that's in your head?
Can you imagine being on LSD and then they're also shocking the ever-loving crap out of you the whole time? So you're having a bad trip and getting electrocuted.
You're like,
the
I'm in a
entire
lightning storm right now.
You would think you were in hell. You would straight up, you'd think you were in hell.
Like, kill me now.
So on the flip side of that, Project Midnight Climax, they set up a brothel. No, not a brothel. But
it was a brothel. 100%.
A room that prostitutes would take
look like
Johns.
a brothel.
Okay, yeah. They would pay prostitutes to bring back Johns, and then spike their drink, hit them on acid, and then use what the ladies do and the LSD to see if they can extract information.
Yeah.
And from what I understood, it kind of worked.
Probably
Like
so.
It let them. It let their defenses down enough to where they were
in
given
that situation. That would, you're just trying to impress a lady a little bit, and you're a little bit.
Let's be honest. You take the LSD out, and that kind of works too.
Yeah.
Who do you work for?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's your boss?
I saw where during this they reached out to Hugh Hefner, and he actually gave a bunch of the stuff that was inside the brothel. Like the posters and all of that kind of stuff came from the Playboy Mansion from Hugh Hefner. So he actually contributed to this Operation Midnight Climax a little bit in that way. Well, he was at least contributing something.
Interesting.
Now, whether he knew what was going on or not, I don't know. But
I wish I knew who was writing these operation names because they were on point.
That was a good one.
They
was
were
a good
just,
one. That was probably the best one.
I mean, like how much time are they spending on this? You know?
Yeah.
That's all this guy did. Gottlieb, the one that was over the Midnight Climax, that's all this dude did. He lived to do this.
Yeah, and they said
there was videos.
He flipped dirty too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he flipped real dirty.
Like he was to the point where his subordinates' jobs was to get him some lady time.
Oh.
Like,
Nice.
That turned into his life.
He probably threatened them, like, I'm with the CIA.
Yeah, what you gonna do about it?
You're going to fall off a building one day.
What you gonna do about it?
I have zero oversight.
I'm gonna Boeing you.
And I'm part of the CIA. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. And,
Nobody owns me.
I got a $10 million budget, and
and he got away with it too.
He did.
Yeah, 100%. Like nothing happened to him. It's just like.
I wonder if he took some illicit drugs and just like had 100%. A God complex. You know,
all of these guys, I want to say, were dabbling. In their own
they
supply.
Had to. It was right there.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, like I said,
what's gonna happen to you?
What did I say his name was?
Was it Gottlieb?
No,
or Olson?
Olson, Olson. His boss, like he went trippy and He had a little bit of a conscience, but he, his boss zoinked him out just for the fun of it at a party, just to see what happened. Guess what? I just spiked your drink.
So I heard I'm listening to The Search for the Manchurian
Candidate.
Yeah, that's it. I'm listening to it. So, but
They
were talking
too.
about
that was a weird one.
There's two movies, one with Denzel and one back in the 70s. 80s.
Okay,
I watched the one with Denzel, and that movie was so trippy. Something about it. There was something about it, like the way it was filmed and the way everything is like going. It feels like I'm watching real life, almost like scenarios like playing out.
Yeah,
it's almost like they're telling you through a movie, like what happened, like how everything is,
how it's real.
Yeah, it's like, but they're making a movie out of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it.
You're like, it just makes too much sense,
Yeah,
it's weird.
They were actually talking about in that putting it in a city's water supply, dropping in. Could you imagine an entire city? Just to see what the effects would be.
Yeah, they should do that in Flint,
Dropping
Michigan.
LSD in it, or
just LSD into.
There's other drugs that
into the water supply.
I bet if you do that,
drop some LSD
Flint,
in
Michigan, they'll probably actually drink the water there.
They might have to drink.
Stop it. Flint, Michigan. We apologize to our listeners in Michigan.
They're not listening. They're poor. They ain't got no. They can't watch it.
Go. I'm gonna have to edit this. You better chill out.
Obama failed them, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, I'll agree with that.
So, tell us more about the Manchurian Candidate. Like, what was
kind
the
of
premise of the candidate?
Oh, I don't know about that. I hadn't got all the way through it yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm only like 3 hours into it, and that was one of the things.
From what I understand, they were hypnotizing or drugging someone to have a trigger to do.
So I'm in the early stages at this point in the book. I'm in where they're just talking about how they've used it on other people and all that kind of stuff. So,
but they would hypnotize and use them to kill other people.
So this guy was actually in the CIA that wrote this book. Okay. He was a whistleblower. I think the book was written in the 70s. He was actually kind of a whistleblower before a lot of this stuff had been released.
Okay.
And then the documents come out and prove him to be pretty spot on with everything that I've seen.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'm not sure that this follows the movie 100%. I think this is more the background of what they were actually doing.
It was kind of like the basis of the movie of like the drugging and the hypnotizing, but it was different. But it was about like getting a president that they wanted in place and like controlled by whatever agency it was.
Yeah,
but.
and that may take that turn at some point, but where I'm at in it, it's just really talking about what was going on in the CIA at that point.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could use hypnosis to trigger people to do whatever they wanted.
Yep.
So that's kind of what Project Monarch was. And this one, from what I understand, is a complete conspiracy theory. There's a lady that said she was a subject of Project Monarch, and she was hypnotized from as a young child. So they were, according to her, they were taking children that had trauma, whether it be sexual or physical or whatever, taking them when they're already broken a little, and then using hypnosis to train them to do things. And from what she said, it was dirty things. It was Epstein Island type things. Put it that way.
Okay.
Wow.
So she the way she got out of it was she ended up getting married, and her husband was able to break it, fix her brain apparently.
And
wasn't that what Stranger Things was kind of based off of?
Yeah, so Stranger Things, the story.
So that gets into the handler conversation a little bit. She had 11 in Stranger Things, had her person she called Dad.
Yeah.
Who was really, Father. That's right. Who was really loving and all this kind of stuff until he wasn't.
Yeah. And
so
behind the scenes, they were.
I feel like the way that lady explained it, it's like, what we know about the government's like, it seems like it's leaning towards true. It's like this is something dirty they would do.
Yeah.
Well, I did hear that they were talking about how on full-grown adults it was harder to mind control them because their brains were fully developed.
Yeah.
So trying to control somebody whose brain is fully developed is really difficult.
Right.
So you got to hit them when they're early, when you can actually sit down and mold somebody's mind.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Do you think I haven't seen anything. Maybe there's something out there, but do you think there's actually been any successful hits during like the Cold War, whether like the U.S. sends over somebody into Russia with this hypnotized brain,
Like it was successful.
Yeah, like they actually did a successful hit on somebody. Like they called their hotel room, told them their secret word, and then they went out and did the deed,
yep. And had no memory of it.
And had no memory, and then just put in prison and then just disappeared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's possible. It's one of those things that's going to be hard to prove. I don't think the government would.
The government's not going to let you know that they've got a guy that they can do that with.
Right. It'd be like a super soldier, you know?
But the point would be to completely erase that person from what I've seen from the MK Ultra stuff is after they go and do that hit, they want to be able to wipe them again. And that way there's no conscience involved with any of it.
What was a Matt Damon movie?
Jason Bourne?
Bourne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of his thing. Like they triggered him and he started remembering his old memories.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They want this person to not be able to do that, which is why they were trying to do the hypnotizing, because then they could split personalities at that point, is what they were saying. They were trying to bring out split personalities, that they would say a word, this person would wake up, and then when they would say another word, then it was just back to their normal selves.
Yeah, that's wild.
I feel like they spent too much money and time for it not to have been successful in some aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It kind of sounded too what I was gathering from it was the people flipped dirty, so they were just spending money just for their own good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like it went on for 20 something years. It started in the 50s and went all the way into the 70s.
Right. Yeah. Like you tell me like there's not like at least one person who got taken out by a hypnoptized man.
Yeah. And the conspiracy is that MK Ultra is still going on
under a different name.
Yeah, just
under maybe Operation Peacock or something like that. Now
maybe they figured out a different way. We don't have to use drugs anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a way they're tapping into people's brains, like
social media,
frequencies,
TikTok, all that good stuff. Frequencies. Yeah, tell us about that. You dug into some frequency type stuff.
So looking into the MK Ultra and the split offs from there was one that caught my eye. It's called Subproject 54.
Sweet.
There's not much information about it.
Another solid name, by the way.
Yes. And the fact that it's called that and not something cool tells you something. And in the FOIA documents, there's only like a paragraph about Subject 54.
What's a FOIA document?
Freedom of Information Act.
There you go.
FOIA. FOIA.
At least one of us is kind of smart.
Yeah.
No.
That's
I'm not. I just read. I'm not even good at that. But this was something that caught my eye because it was kind of different than the LSD and the torture. This was like a untraceable weapon almost. But it was a project that was partly Navy, but funded by the CIA.
Okay.
And there are frequency or sound weapons in use right now, like LRADs that they use on boats and like for riots and stuff. That just makes loud noises to disorient people. But the side I'm talking about is experiments done where you could basically shut somebody's brain and body down with frequencies.
Wow.
Where there's no trace, there's nothing. You basically just scramble them until they die.
Yeah.
There is...
That's terrifying.
Yeah, there was I got to find it, but there was a hearing after MK Ultra was shut down where somebody was talking about Subproject 54, just a very short excerpt about doing testing on animals where they were able to put them to sleep, but then also they were able to basically give them a bunch of mini concussions, and then they would just die.
With a sound wave.
Wow. So basically, which then took me down another deep path, looking into
rabbit hole,
learning about frequencies, and like, man, it's going to be hard not to go schizo mode because there's a spectrum.
You got to look in your eye right now,
spectrum. Like,
yeah, if you're on YouTube, you can see that.
Yeah, there's a spectrum of people I hear that talk about frequencies. There's one end where people use frequencies to be like to harmonize with their natural vibration and to like bring solace. But on the other end, they're like, tumors resonate at this frequency. Listen to this frequency, and you can cure your cancer.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's and
sounds
everything
like crystals on your forehead stuff. Man.
That's what I'm saying. But listen, this is a real deal here. So from what I found, everything has a resonance. Everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency that it's off-putting. Everything is like this drink here is even though you can't see it vibrating, it's moving.
Its molecules are moving around
very very quick.
Yeah.
The human body resonates about 5 hertz. Organs in the brain resonate about 7 hertz.
Okay.
And they actually have done many brain scans where like there's different brain waves that the brain puts off depending on what mood it's in. So this can be kind of long. I hope you guys are getting
into
it.
No, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's funny you get into this because I just watched a documentary yesterday where they were talking about the holy frequency.
Mm-hmm. It's like throughout history, people have known about frequencies and what they can do. Yeah. It's insane. Ancient history. Yeah. It's like, how did you know about this? Yeah. And
fallen angels. Plug in episode 1.
So the one frequency that the brain puts out that I'm interested in is called the theta wave, which is associated with drowsiness, sleep, but also memory, creativity, and psychological well-being. Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Theta
brain wave. Okay. The brain puts off delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma waves. And they all, depending on if you're sleeping, if you're excited, if you're happy, it puts off different waves. And they have scanned this. This is proven. But the theta waves is what I'm focused on because that's the one that can be manipulated to where, basically you can...
An outside input can change what your brain experiences.
Correct. So have you ever, for example, just to give you a mental image, have you ever been in a car that had, big speakers and, you can turn it up bass. And, even though it's loud... the windows only vibrate at certain points, and they vibrate violently. Yeah. That's basically what that is. It's like if once the item that you're trying to manipulate finds its resonant frequency, it'll vibrate a bunch. Now think about the brain. The brain is floating in fluid, right? If you get that thing to be moving that quick, what's happening? It's bouncing all around in there. You're getting a bunch of mini concussions. You're getting damage done, right? So, the testing they did on animals was just that. They were trying to scramble stuff. Wow. And so they use I think it's called subaural frequencies. It's sound that you can't hear, but you can feel. Yeah. And there has been a lot of studies, like in factories, in other parts of the industry, where machinery, if it's putting off a certain frequency, like a super low hum, you can't really hear it, but you can feel it. Yeah. It can make people sick. It can give them headaches. All kinds. It messes with.
Are we talking like the South Park brown note?
I was about to ask, what's the frequency for the brown note?
It was 9 hertz.
It's real.
Oh, so you looked it up?
I looked it up.
It's real?
You wanted to know?
It's real.
You can make someone dupe their pants.
Well, I looked it up, and the Mythbusters have an episode where they debunked it.
They tried to
do it.
Okay. It's a little disappointing.
Yeah, I was really hoping I was going to find a 9 hertz here in a minute and just make y'all poop your pants.
Yeah.
That would make for some great video content.
So, in my scientific nature, I wanted to hear what this 7 hertz sounded like, So you can find videos of different hertz and you can listen to it.
On YouTube.
Mm-hmm. It's not dangerous until you bump up the volume.
It up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you talking big speakers in your car pump it up, or are you talking the big speaker on Back to the Future at the beginning, just possibly freaky big stuff
like that?
Okay.
And even then, it's the way they were using it was I don't know much about frequencies and what the difference between having something you can feel but not hear, but also something you can hear and feel. I don't know what the difference is there.
Yeah.
But I listened to a couple different hertz just through my earbuds, which may be different than listening through speakers.
Yeah.
But when I did the 7 hertz and put my earbuds in, they were kind of not noise canceling, but I had enough where I wasn't letting outside noise in.
Right.
And the 7 hertz bumped up. It was the weirdest feeling. I felt like my body got lighter.
Really?
It was weird.
What?
I had pressure behind my eyes, my head. I felt pressure in my head. It was the weirdest thing.
Good weird or bad weird?
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was just a different feeling. So I'd imagine if you were to get that in a very concentrated amount, it would definitely wreck you.
Yeah.
But I was really interested in that. And see, what else would I have put down? Oh, and your heart too. It resonates at a certain frequency. So if you play that, it can give you all kinds of. It can mess up tissue,
heart palpitations,
all kinds, arrhythmia, all kinds of stuff. It's insane.
Sounds like a super weapon.
So if there's a note,
if
there's a frequency that can harm it, is there? I guess that's what people are saying. Is there's a frequency that can heal it? They
say there's there are so many frequencies. They say they can repair DNA.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Your DNA resonates. Yeah. There's everything resonates with a certain frequency.
Wow.
And I have to look into it, but that's the thing. You start running into the schizo stuff.
Yeah.
You have to put up your roadblocks. You know?
You're gonna make me soundproof my bedroom. Especially after putting this podcast out, we might have
big time.
We're going to
People's
watch
gonna
her
hop in
back.
it.
People were making connections with frequencies in the Bible. I have to look into that.
Yeah.
But there was something about in the Bible. It was relating back to frequencies that was used in the Catholic Church. Catholic Church had a pretty firm grasp on frequencies. They have a bunch of different scales of frequencies. They said was like angelic, basically.
So that must be
The holy note.
the holy frequency that I was seen. What I seen was like the way I learned about it. It was they found a room underground that was built like thousands of years before the pyramids was even built.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a they just when they was doing their testing on it, they discovered it had a resonance in it that if that frequency was played or used down there, that people would have a religious type experience.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have to do more research on it because there's so much information, and it's hard to not get muddied in it.
Yeah,
but a bunch of different groups around the world, tap into that. They do a lot of stuff with frequencies and like becoming back into one with nature, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It's really weird.
Are you about to start dealing crystals?
Crystal meth.
Talking like that.
Yeah.
Some of that mind control meth.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's see here. So the actual paragraph that was in the FOIA was Subproject 54 involved giving the subjects blunt force trauma to induce concussions and amnesia, either using weapons which didn't leave a mark or ultrasound waves.
And this was government released.
Government released in a FOIA.
God.
That they can kill somebody with just some sound.
Yes, it's insane.
Jeez. Wonder why they don't use it more.
I don't know.
Maybe they do.
We just don't know.
We just don't know about it.
Or there's more money in rockets, and never mind. That's a different
whole other rabbit hole.
It's a whole other rabbit hole. But
Let me see if I had anything else. Oh, and there was a this was pertaining to the last episode, but they say the 19 hertz is it's called the fearing frequency.
Say it again.
The fearing,
like I'm scared.
It's acquainted to ghosts because something about
that. Yep.
Yeah, I listened to through my earbuds, and it's a very uneasy feeling.
Really,
it's pretty creepy.
You got in there. You listened to.
Wow. I was going through it.
Can you actually hear it, or is that one that you can't really hear?
You can hear it.
Feel it.
You hear it and feel it.
Okay.
I would probably do it on a speaker out of the earbuds, so you can feel it through your whole body. But through the earbuds, it just gives you a really uneasy, like on edge feeling.
Yeah.
So some people, attribute 19 hertz to ghost sightings.
Okay.
It's supposed to make you hallucinate. Okay. That's what the internet says.
The internet.
The internet says my casserole. My casserole is supposed to be at 200 degrees.
What is Aunt Martha cooking casserole?
I just had that Midwestern accent. I just had to throw it in there. In the NK Ultra. It's a weird man. What else did I have here that I was really interested in?
He said he would take me to a brothel, and
he gave me some funky juice. Made me lose it.
I got to play with Mickey Mouse.
I went hunting for some deer. I tripped for 12 hours.
Jeez. So you got any stories, Steven? What'd you look up?
I've mainly just lived in the MK Ultra stuff. Which we've covered. It's so much information.
So many.
We covered most of the stuff that I've kind of dived into or dove into,
and all the people attached to it that we're probably gonna bring up in later.
We're gonna have to probably do an episode strictly where that's all we talk about is MK Ultra, because it is,
or even the sub projects. You can probably break out one of the sub projects.
You could do you could do sub project as a whole episode. I mean, it's crazy that it's just so much information because it was over a huge amount of time, and they were doing some dirty stuff with these people. I mean, I couldn't imagine just somebody dropping some LSD inside of my drink and then them hooking me up to an oven basically and cooking me. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you asked earlier if there was any good that came out of it, or if it's being used now. Shock treatment, I looked into it a little bit. I got some personal stories on that one, but that they would use shock treatment to help schizophrenic people. And my grandmother, she had shock treatment stuff done on her.
Yeah.
And she had some childhood trauma that made her later in life go a little bad.
Do they even know what schizophrenia is? Have they even figured that out yet? Do they know anything
what
about
causes it and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, is it just trauma to the brain that just leaves it
Yeah, like emotional trauma would cause it. Yeah, so my grandmother, she had childhood trauma, and it showed itself later in her life, and she went into deep depressions. So I asked my mom about how that worked, and because I was older but a little disconnected, so I didn't know the whole story. But she said that they would, when she would go into deep depression and her meds quit working, her doctor would take her and do shock treatment, and it would so shock treatment, what it does is put electrodes on both sides of the head, throw electric current through it, and then it would make everything just reset, put you into a seizure. And then she would, after the seizure, she would come out and forget about what just happened to her, for one, some short-term memory loss, but then she would reset. She'd be back to normal.
That's weird. Like how it works sometimes.
Yeah.
Like your brain is able to reset and be like, okay for a little bit.
Yeah. And from what I've seen too, it only works for about 50% of the people. So they would, if your doctor would prescribe it, and they still do it now, if your doctor would prescribe it, there's a 50-50 chance of it working.
Yeah. Do they still do it now?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought
they shut that down.
Was gone.
Yeah, they're trying to destigmatize it. I watched a couple videos just before we got started that they were trying to destigmatize it. I have mixed feelings about it just from what I've seen with my grandmother. It's a little bit, I'm not a sensitive guy, but it was a little bit triggering for me to see videos of people.
Like just coming out of the chairs and stuff?
Yeah, just how it worked.
So we're not talking just a little bit of electric current. Like they're pumping it.
No, they zoink you. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's violent looking, but they put a thing in your mouth so you don't choke and hold you down. It looks violent.
Yeah.
So that was the triggering part.
Can you imagine going to college for 8 years of like, yeah, our only option for you is to just shock the absolute crap out of you. Like, that's all we got for you. Like, that's it.
Yeah, so it's that they would do it, and she would it did work for a little bit.
Not like work or just like not make her crazy work.
That
okay, like she wasn't a normal person, but she just wasn't.
No,
she was like 100% there.
I wouldn't say 100%. She still had problems, but
she just have episodes that were more prevalent.
So with her issue, she would slip back into depression later, so they would keep having to do it. You know, like I don't know if it was weeks or months, but they would try to get her back to healthy, and they never could. So they'd say, all right, let's go shock treatment and do it again. Yeah, they ended up having to stop. So it was one of those things, like it had a short-term effect, and it did work, and then it didn't work, and things went bad again. And then over time, it worked less and less, if that makes sense.
It was like getting used to it.
Yeah. And then she ended up having to stop altogether because she started. So what the electroshock therapy would do was put you into a state of seizure. She would, towards the end, she would go into her own seizure by herself without it. And luckily the doctor seen it one time. She zoinked out on her own with a seizure, and he's like, all right, we gotta stop. So they had to do other stuff from there. But
I mean, how do you not end up with that being the situation every single time though? I mean, if you're shocking your brain a lot, I mean, eventually it's just going to think, oh, okay, well, for me to get better, I'm just going to let me have the seizure. That's obviously the result. So now we're just going to do that on its own. Yeah.
And so I had mixed feelings about it because it did work. It is violent. It looked painful from the videos I seen, but they have no memory of it. Yeah. So I associate it to kind of like going under anesthesia and getting cut open. Like, sure, that hurts, but you don't remember it, so it don't really matter. You know, your body's just disconnected. So, yeah, I mean, it helps maybe, but
I mean, because like, what's the latter? Like, just suffering, you know?
Yeah. She would have. Yeah, they said if this didn't work, she would have. It'd have been bad. But.
Yeah, and plus, it's like facilities for people experiencing that are just not great.
Yeah.
So they're still doing it today. Is it in the same extent as what they were doing it then?
From what I've seen, it was getting better. Like they've honed in on what the frequency and the
they're not just giving it the
frequency.
beans.
Not giving it the beans, yeah. And they would sedate them now, so they're giving them muscle relaxers so they don't go crazy twitching. There was something else that they give them. And they put them under anesthesia, so they go ahead and knock them out before they do it, so it's not as violent.
Right.
So, and one of the testimonials that I seen, it was a drug addict. So he went into some depression. Of course, his drugs wasn't working because his tolerance for stuff was already out there. Yeah. So they had the shock treatment. one time worked for him. So
Okay.
now
he doesn't want drugs anymore.
It was the depression. It wasn't for the drugs. Okay. It was for the depression.
That's wild.
Anxiety and stuff.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Yeah, I'd be happy after that. I'd tell everybody, no, I'm good. Yeah. You know what? I've never felt better.
Yeah. I seen another story of a nurse that went and had that done. Same situation, and it worked. But she quit telling people about it because it had a negative stigma to it. But then she started telling her story and trying to say, hey, it's not all bad. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence. Like, I seen it tear down my grandma, but it also helped her. So same situation.
I need Zoloft when you could just get zapped.
Yeah.
That's right.
The brain's a wild, wild game, man.
It really is.
Did you hear about the lobotomies? Or did y'all look at it any?
I hadn't looked at it.
I mean, I know what it is.
I know the how it works, but that's about it.
Yeah, and they don't do it anymore at all. That was
which is good.
There was
basically putting a mixer inside of your head.
There was a shady cat, Walter Freeman II. He would stick in. You ready for this? He would stick an ice pick under your eyelid, over your eyeball, touch your backbone behind your orbital socket, and take a hammer, ding, 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 poke through with the ice pick into your brain, and then swish it around a little bit. And
how do you learn that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you...
How do you even think of... I know how I'm going to fix you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I'm going to fix you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I've got an ice pick and a hammer.
Yeah. Zoink, sit back.
I'm done at that point. I don't care. You're not sticking an ice pick in my eye.
No.
Period.
This was in the... he did it through the 40s and 60s. And he got so popular at it, and it was so accepted that he went on a tour in an RV.
The old lobotomy tour.
And was zoinking people's brains.
The 1960 lobotomy tour coming to your town.
The Rolling Stones better watch out.
Dadgum.
Hey, and you joke, but they said he was a showman. That was like his thing, how he made money. Like he would do this in front of people. Like in front of crowds.
Dude looks like a magician just out there popping people's eye sockets.
Now you see me? Now you don't.
You don't remember this now.
It's like John Cena.
Yeah, you can't see.
Yeah. So the wild thing is it had mixed results. Like
really?
He obviously did some dirty stuff and killed some people and made some oopses.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah, a little twitch of the wrist here and
wrong hole.
Yeah.
Stronger than I thought it was.
But some people, they said it worked. They've been like absolute bonkers, schizophrenic psychos.
Yeah, but aren't they like after you've had a lobotomy? Aren't you're just drooling at that point? That's like you have no control of anything.
Yeah. From what I understood, it was more of a relief for the families taking care of them. You know, what I mean?
Just like would you rather like that or just like have little Timmy just go off?
Go off to a nice farm somewhere? Is that what you're saying?
Face the wall.
That's horrible.
And that's what they did.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you have to make decisions here.
He did go off to a nice farm just with an ice pick and a hammer. Yeah.
That's a wild
man.
That's crazy that was ever in our history at all. That we're just
okay with it.
We were cool with, hey, let's run a.
Well, seriously though, think about it. Like the alternative was sticking them in a loony bin.
Yeah, and they were abused there.
And they would just live the worst lives ever.
So my parents, we actually had a group home for mentally ill adults when I was growing up. So all of them were schizophrenic. Yeah, that was all of them were, and most of them came from an area. In our state, it was called Bryce, but they practiced lobotomies. They practiced electrotherapy. All
how
of that
late
kind
was
of
the
stuff.
lobotomies going? I mean, what year range?
I don't know exactly how far it was. I know my parents had the group home in the early 2000s.
Okay,
so I grew up pretty much in a group home for mentally ill adults.
Yeah,
so I saw a lot of them, and there were certain ones that I know came from Bryce, and they were not the same as the ones that didn't come from Bryce.
Like
I can say that.
Worse,
they were
better,
they
good,
were worse.
Worse.
They were a lot worse.
like worse as in
nonverbal for the most part.
Okay. Worse as in on their own, or worse as in easier to or harder to take care of.
No, they were not harder to take care of. I would say they were probably easier to take care of.
That's what
but there was no
soul.
There wasn't much there.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. And
lights were on, but nobody's home.
Yeah, it was kind of tough, and I didn't know that's what that was growing up. Yeah, you just thought, well, they've got mental illness, and that's just how theirs were. Growing up and understanding a lot of that now,
yeah.
there was probably lobotomies involved with that, and electrotherapy involved with that, and
Yeah, I don't think we still have a full grasp of what the brain does and how to fix it. And
No.
If you were in that position where like you were just done for like that, would you just want someone to just put you out?
See, I've thought about that because I've growing up with seeing it go through with my grandma. Like I've thought about if
that came to you hereditary.
If hereditary is there, or if my lights go out one day. So speaking of my father, my dad, he had strokes and it rewired his brain hardcore. He's not the same as he was before the strokes. He's functioning, but he's not. He can't work. Like he's just
Is it like
he's a different person.
Is it a physical or more of a
mental?
Mental. Yeah, he can't. Okay. His memory's shot. Like he can't remember things. Overstimulation gets him pretty wore out.
But he knows who he is and who you are.
He knows who he is. Like all that good stuff. Like he's functional. Like we have family events.
But he's just taking it easy.
Yeah, and he's a different person than he was before. So it's but yeah, it's a complete rewiring of the brain, and it kind of sounds like the brain was kind of lobotomized on its own. Yeah, with a blood clot.
Yeah, in a natural way that's not good.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, back to your question. Yeah, I've thought about it. I don't know. Like I don't know if I went down that road, because like how I would want to be treated.
Because like these guys, it's like, or gals, whoever. It's like when you're in that state, like, are you just back inside your mind just screaming and torture? Like you're
I would think that there's probably,
you're real in there, but not
like you can't control any of it. Yeah.
Just from being around it as much as I would say there probably is some level of clarity at times. Yeah. So I would say there's probably moments of clarity where you're yourself, but they also feel like the other times when they're not being clear, they feel like that's them too.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It's kind of both. One thing you kind of had to do is you kind of had to live in the delusion with these people a lot of times.
Yeah.
And whatever they were saying, you just have to, you're right.
Yeah.
And just move on. We had a guy, he thought he was Tarzan sometimes. He would go outside. He had on his chest written in prison tattoo, Tarzan. He would go outside, rip his shirt off, and start beating on his chest and sounding like Tarzan.
Yeah.
And in those moments, you just had to let that guy be Tarzan.
Yeah.
But then other times, he was a little off all the time.
Yeah.
But, there was other times where he didn't do that. I mean, so there was just different levels and each person had a different level of illness, I would say, at that point.
Provide,
yeah.
I feel like we're all Tarzan on the inside.
We are. Yeah. We're all just looking for our Jane.
I'm thinking, I'm like, dang, I wish I could be Tarzan.
Yeah, right? That's like a,
sound like a bad thing.
Just go do that and you don't walk back in and go, why did I do that?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure he probably didn't have a care in the world.
No, he didn't.
He didn't give a rip what people thought about him being Tarzan.
The whole thing is you would try to teach them basic living skills while they were in the house. And so we would take them shopping and we would, take them to the grocery store, and this is how you manage your money.
Was that fun?
Oh, dude, there were some times where that was really hard and you wanted to crawl under the closest shelf you could find.
Somebody screaming obscenities.
That would happen. There was a time when he would walk up to people and he would point at an egg and said, "Ma'am, I need to swallow all the moons." And he would, just some random person would walk up, "I need to swallow all them moons." And you're like, "Those are eggs, buddy." And he's like, "No.
Boy, you ain't right."
I mean, and he would seriously heart attack.
Yeah.
And he would say, "You know how I know? Because I used to work in a chicken house." And that's what's his response to everything.
Wow.
Because I used to work in a chicken house.
Yeah.
That's how I know it.
Yeah, I had some fun with Grandma when she would go through her episodes, and
screw with her?
Not screw with her, but I would play along. I would play along. Play
it along. You just have to in that situation. You got to play along with it.
I worked in Afghanistan for a while, and I FaceTime called her, and she was on one of her.
I'm a face on a screen.
Yeah, I guess a trip. Like it was hilarious. Like you imagine your grandma like getting her face like an inch away from the webcam. You know, it's just like and she hears the voice coming out, but she don't understand what's going on. And we'd have a conversation, and I'd try to talk to her best I can. And my mom would just be in the background rolling, laughing, because I'm like, she's talking about like bears killing me in the woods, and how do I deal with it? And I was like, well, Mama, I'll just kill them with a shotgun. What are you talking about? And she's like, well, that's good. You got to keep a shotgun ready to go. And I'll just play right into the story.
Absolutely, you do, Grandma.
Yeah, we just have a conversation about killing bears in the woods.
You're right, Grams. You just got to keep one handy.
It was one of my fond memories, even though she. Probably when I get to heaven, it's there. She's gonna be like, "What are you?
Yeah, we had one that she would come and tell you to recipes. And one of her recipes is she would tell you how to make a vanilla milkshake out of pork and beans.
Oh, I bet that's yummy.
Yeah, it sounds great, doesn't it? And you would just have to smile and nod and just go, yes, ma'am. That does
I bet
sound
if you
good.
refine it enough, you could probably get a vanilla
Yeah, I mean, there's
milkshake.
probably a salty sweet somewhere in that, right? So
Just keep filtering it till you
just
get
a little
one.
bit of that salty sweet. Just keep going.
Gross.
So I wonder how many test subjects they went through and just like dump bodies, like nobody knows about.
That's
Project Artichoke talks about that, and it's giving them the A treatment is what they would call it, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah, and that's the conspiracy theory side of it, is how dirty it gone and how deep it goes to. One of the conspiracy theories I ran across was that celebrities are getting programmed with whatever hypnosis or whatever.
But why?
Like when you see them trip out, like because they use them as tools, propaganda tools,
okay.
you know, to get
That's
them to
fair.
say whatever. You seen Britney Spears trip out? Have you seen any of her videos?
I have.
She's lost it.
There
but-
was,
I mean, she's abused. She was abused.
She was abused, but there was one where she was
young
having
age.
an interview, and the lady said a word, and she just went into la la land. She kept saying the same word over and over, and you can just something trip.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot
I
of
think
stuff
they got
where
her pumped full of stuff too.
Yeah.
I do too, but I wonder what they got. Is it LSD?
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of stuff with child actors and just celebrities in general where they've got handlers.
Yeah.
I think everybody's seen the Katy Perry eye glitch.
Yeah. That's one of the lizard people
That's
conspiracies.
that's a lizard people conspiracy.
Yeah.
But is she
That's on the schizo
swapping?
list.
Yeah.
Is she swapping personalities in that too? Is what a
Yeah.
lot of people are saying, is that they can turn that off and on,
Yeah.
and they've got a handler around to keep them in check with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
100% conspiracy, but just one of those things. It's
weird.
just like it's super.
what
weird.
was the one with Al Roker?
Yeah, I
They
seen
said
Al
Holy
Roker.
Ghost, and this dude froze.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, on
Did you see that one?
on what's that show?
Good Morning
Yeah.
America.
Good
or
Morning-
whatever.
Today Show or something?
Today Show.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah,
mean, this
she
dude
said
didn't
Holy
blink.
Ghost, and he like turned to the camera
That's the
with his
creepiest thing.
goofiest look.
everyone in the background's like,
Yeah, for 17 seconds, he was just zoinked. Just
all
In
the
la la
ladies are
Did he
just
ever
like,
talk after that, or did somebody have to go say it again?
I didn't see the end of it, but he did address it in another interview. And here's the part that adds to the conspiracy. The first time he said he just had a brain fart.
Oh.
Not buying that. And
yeah.
then the second,
my brain just I
Yeah.
had a brain fart and I froze for
Yeah.
30 seconds.
and then when he realized how dumb that answer was, the second time he talked about it, he said that, and this one kind of makes more sense because it sounds fun, like something I would do. But he said his producer was in his ear saying, "Hold it." And it turned into like a inside joke. Like he was just like,
Okay.
"Hey, this is funny. Just keep
Yeah,
doing it. Keep
just
doing it.
keep
Keep doing
doing
it.
it.
Stop. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it."
No.
But
you
either
should
way-
have said that to
but I mean,
begin
they're
with.
on
Yeah.
on television, like national television. It's like, would you do that if that's your
Yeah.
career? You know?
Yeah, I don't see
That's
him.
the way to get around it. It's what
Something
that
I
is.
would do, but I'd get fired pretty
Yeah,
quick.
I always think
Yeah.
back to when Tom Cruise was on Oprah. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he was
He
jumping
lost it.
around.
Yeah.
I love this woman.
Yeah, his we're gonna touch on this, but Scientology was a little bit of that one, and it could be part of all
Yeah,
of this.
the
This
mind
could be,
stuff.
Yeah, it could be a part of all of it.
Maybe
So-
they just took a part of the playbook.
So
Yeah.
to kind of wrap it up, do you guys think that MK Ultra is still prevalent today? There's something
I would-
going on.
I would think it would have to be. I mean,
Yes.
to manipulate people.
It
whether
seemed too fruitful.
yeah, the results were just too good, and the fact that they were just really, I think they were getting results.
Yeah, and it's too easy.
It's
to
like
just keep
why
going.
when you're getting results, why stop?
Yeah,
I would say that they were definitely getting some kind of result. I don't think it was exactly what they wanted,
But they
there
were
was
honing in
some-
on it.
There was some fruit that was bared from it, I think, and they're going to hone in on
Yeah.
those areas.
It's kind
that
of
it
it's kind
did
of like
work.
the AI thing. It's like it just continues to go.
yeah.
stack.
They
Yeah.
just keep experimenting with it and keep.
They
getting
may be
better with
pumping frequencies through our television.
it. Yeah,
Hey, 5G towers.
That's right. Uh-oh, better watch out.
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, let's wrap this up. This was a fun one, guys. I
Yeah.
enjoyed this one. I learned a lot this week too.
Yeah. I like adventuring outside of reality, but staying inside is pretty comfortable too.
Yeah, I like
That's
conspiracy.
right.
I like conspiracy theory
Yeah,
talk.
it's tangible.
It's fun. Yeah, but yeah, hit the all the things. Look us up on it on YouTube. Hey, shout out to
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're throwing those out there. So look us up. ShroudedRealities@gmail.com if you need to get a hold of us. Yeah, for Joey, Steven, Connor, and Ruby, the podcast dog who showed her private parts earlier. I apologize
Sorry,
for the
have to
YouTube
blur that.
videos. We're going to have to blur that out. But yeah. We appreciate you guys listening.
Big time.
Thanks, guys.